Hey everyone, welcome to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
I'm Marcia Parker.
Back with a brand new review for you guys. This is for a movie that just comes out today or yesterday at 7 p.m. technically, but we had to hold our review until now at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time due to the embargo, which usually is not the best indication for an upcoming feature film. And unfortunately, that proves to be true yet again. So, we are here to discuss Rings, the third full-length installment of the Ring trilogy now, which also had a short film between parts 1 and 2 by the same name, actually. That was also called Rings. And in my opinion, that little less than 10-minute short was more successful than this entire movie. So, let's get into it, Marcia. What did we think of Rings? I'll let you go first this time.
I liked it the first time I watched it when it was called The Ring.
Mm-hmm.
I think they might have done a little bit better job with like the graphics and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, we are, 15 years later.
Right, but there was, and I don't
almost
know how...
20 actually at this point.
Yeah.
Jesus, oh God, I'm old.
But it was some of the same jump scares, and then some jump scares that didn't really make sense.
Some in italics. Some jump scares.
Yeah,
because
and
there
we
was
can
a
dig into that a little
disturbing,
bit
lack
later,
of scares
but,
in this movie.
Yeah, but babe,
is that a human noise?
That's gonna be what my reaction is to this movie. There's no words.
No, I can totally see where you're coming from because my reaction was very much also. It's to me, I enjoyed it more when I watched it when it was called The Ring, Stir of Echoes, Don't Breathe. Because that's essentially what this movie was. And one of them, I'm sure the filmmakers, part of the reason the studio, I should say, held on to this movie is because there is a striking similarity at one point in the movie to another extraordinarily successful film from 2016. And it's like, I know this was shot beforehand, but that is gonna hurt really bad. Like people are gonna tear that aspect apart. But overall, I just was disappointed. I thought the movie was long. Actually, it wasn't even that long. It was only about an hour and 40-something minutes.
Yeah.
But it felt long. It felt long, and that's never good. And okay, so let's go into the story real quick. The story of Rings, if you're curious, because it's a little hard to tell from the trailers that they released, but it's about this girl and her boyfriend. We actually start off in sort of a set piece that literally leads nowhere except to sort of be kind of a backstory for the rest of the movie. So we're on tenuous ground to start.
Right.
But the movie then leaps to this girlfriend and boyfriend. They've got this cutesy relationship. Oh, we see they're the perfect couple. They're a Victoria's Secret, well, maybe not a Victoria's Secret model, but definitely a model. And a Abercrombie model.
Yeah.
That have gotten together. Oh.
In high school.
Swell for them. Yeah, high school. 24-year-old high school students.
Yeah.
But
just recently graduated. He's going to college.
She's
She's
not. So I don't know if she's meant to be even younger or if she's dumb.
No, he said you have to stay this is the right move. You need to stay home with your mother because she needs you. And then that's the last.
And then we never touch on that again.
No, never see it again.
Never again. Okay.
So I'm not surprised that you get over.
Missed that.
Yeah, because it was never readdressed.
So anyway, the boyfriend goes off to college and they connect and the passage of time in this movie is very erratic. Like there's literally cuts that'll jump 6 weeks or 5 days or whatever, and when that's done in a movie that centers around a 7-day time frame, that does not work.
No.
Basically, we jump to 6 weeks ahead when he's been away from her for that long, and they're on a Skype call, and he gets pulled away by friends to go do something. He then disappears, won't show up for the Skype calls, won't answer her phone, and she gets worried and goes up to the college to figure out what's going on, and then she basically has to do some sleuthing A la, Naomi Watts from the first Ring, which is very much, I can see where you're getting.
Yeah.
Like, yes, this very much followed the beats of the original Ring, and I think that was probably done intentionally. But at the same time, I gotta say, I don't want to spoil too much about the story, because those that are interested, it's worth seeing to see how the mythology continues, because they do advance the mythology.
They do.
So all the Samara stuff, sweating like a pig in this hot studio, but all of the Samara stuff definitely advances her story. I don't remember exactly how part 2 ended, but I thought it was essentially resolved. But apparently I was wrong. So yeah, the story just kind of follows along with this girl figuring out what happened to her boyfriend, who does come back into the picture, and then it becomes a little bit of It Follows as well. And so it's just, and I had forgotten that there was that gimmick where you can pass the tape along.
Right.
If you show someone else, then you're no longer...
You have to copy it yourself, and then...
So the way it works is you have to spread the curse, as it were. But even that doesn't make sense, because the curse isn't... You're spreading the curse, but not really, because it's just jumping to someone else. So you're not like, now you're not both cursed, it's just now he's cursed instead. So
we'll touch it, because I wanted to talk about that, but...
Okay, alright. So anyway, that's the story. They have to figure out how to undo things so neither of them gets killed by Samara, but Samara ends up possibly guiding our main actress on a particular path. And again, without spoiling, that's sort of the crux of the story. Went a little bit longer than usual because there was more to talk about.
Yeah.
But let's get into how we liked the story and the acting.
Okay.
So I think we already said we weren't a big fan of the
story. Yeah, it's not that I'm not a fan of the story. It's just it felt repeated. They did provide more information.
Unoriginal, for sure.
Well, yeah, it was the first movie, but with new information.
Right.
Basically, just how they set it up. And how it was, like, how it all played through. I feel like it was a missed opportunity for sure. I was hoping going into this movie it would give us more information, but expand upon it already. Like, this is the third movie.
It did touch on sort of Samara's lineage.
Right.
Without spoiling too much.
Done with that. Like, let's move forward.
Yeah.
Like, I figured at this point she should already be... like more viral than she has been.
I mean, after this movie, that's what they can do. Like, this was almost, it almost sort of ties up whatever would-be loose ends there may have been in the series, and now we can get to sort of the fun stuff after this. but
I feel like
now we're sort of gonna, now the problem becomes we sort of leave the tape trope behind because of varying reasons.
And maybe that's why they did it, was to get rid of the VCR tape, but...
Maybe so, but now it just seems like anything else we've seen before.
Yeah.
And I got a big vibe of The Conjuring as well at one point, or The Conjuring 2 anyway.
Okay.
So anyway, it just goes to show that this movie felt super unoriginal. It felt like pieces cobbled together from other movies and stuffed into a square peg being stuffed into a round ring hole. And it just didn't work very well. Now, the acting was fine. It was serviceable. It didn't knock my socks off. I did like Vincent D'Onofrio's turn, but again, he's done much better stuff. I thought he was fantastic as the Kingpin, and now he just does these smaller roles like what he did in Jurassic World, which was very forgettable. And this one, unfortunately, his performance is extraordinarily outshined by another person that did a very similar role very recently. And so it's just the Ring, or Rings rather, is just drowning in all of the films that did it better. Yeah,
I thought the acting was okay. You're right, it was nothing to write home about. I did like the Big Bang Theory guy in there. Roseanne.
Yeah, is it David? I don't know, David was his name on the show.
David was Roseanne, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. It's been that long.
That guy.
I don't watch Big Bang Theory, so I know his name, I just can't think of it literally.
I'm really bad about
review.
names. I already forgot yours. So... I thought the acting was okay. For what they had to work with, I think they did a really good job. I mean, it's just there wasn't really any opportunity to wow the audience, in my opinion. Even the main girl wasn't even scared.
Guys, straight up, outside of the opening sequence, which is sort of left ambiguous, there's only 2 deaths in the whole movie.
Yeah.
Or something. Like, it's not...
Well, 3.
Okay, fair enough, but there's just nothing that happens. There's no scares. The only scares that exist in this movie are what I call transitional scares.
Yeah.
They're not even contextual scares.
Oh my god.
And what I mean by contextual scares are scares that's like, okay, she's peering at something and then something happens with what she's looking at to scare the audience. No, what we get is a lot of characters looking at stuff and then getting jarred out of what they're looking at by something else. A dog, a hand on a shoulder. That's the scares they lean on in this movie, and it's just utterly ridiculous. Like, you've built up this boogeyman in Samara that's extraordinarily effective. You have a movie called Rings, and there's less deaths than in both. Like, it breaks that sequel rule hard that was set up by Wes Craven in Scream, where in sequels the body count has to raise. In this one, the body count's less than in all previous incarnations of this franchise.
And just her appearance at all was like non-existent. There was only like 2 or 3 times I remember actually seeing her.
Yeah, the 2 or 3 deaths. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I thought that the video aspect was kind of interesting. They did change the video multiple times, so that was kind of worth watching. But at the same time,
they did add a new twist to it. But even that was like, it was like too little, too late, or they didn't do enough with it. Like, maybe. It was just, all it was a different, it was just a different clue for Angela Lansbury to follow in Murder, She Wrote. Like, literally, it was just different clues.
And it kind of took me out of it, too, because I feel like it needs to be the same video.
Now, there was one series of events that happened in the movie that I do have to give credit to, and that is things kept happening to our main actress that kept sort of, like, anything... It's interesting. There was a lot that happened in the first 2 Ring movies with Naomi Watts that sort of explained the images on the Ring tape.
Right.
But there were still a couple of images that weren't explained, i.e. a nail going through a finger and pushing up the actual nail.
Right.
Or the fingernail, rather. So those images do actually get touched on in this, and you see things that are like, oh, that's what that's from. So there was a very small degree of interesting in the movie. Yeah. But you had to really search for it.
If you really want to finish the story, then definitely watch it.
Yeah. Completists, you're going to need to, but don't go pay to do it.
No, just wait. It's not worth it. I mean, to be honest, there were times where I was like, I felt the anxiety going, okay, something's going to like be cool, and I'm like, I'm feeling the feel. But
then they yank the character away from it.
And then nothing really evolves or nothing's actually resolved, and then when it is, you're just kind of like, oh.
Like, why did we not? There's one scene in particular where this not even really a spoiler because it's something that didn't happen, but at some point a character is looking down the well and you hear something climbing up. But we don't even see, how creepy would it be to see Samara scampering up the well? Yeah. But they don't even do that.
No, they pull her back.
Yeah, exactly. Just what I was talking about. Someone puts a hand on his shoulder and then
you hear it coming and you're like, oh, here she comes. And it's
like, no, jump scare instead. No. It's like, no, what?
It's money, maybe?
I don't know.
Maybe,
and Samara,
maybe it didn't come out as
again,
well.
Samara looks so displaced from everyone else, and it's even beyond the video aspect. She looks too slick and shiny, and they tried to make her look waterlogged, but it was just not. It was too digital this time. Yeah. Too digital, so it didn't work that well for me. They took the bite out of Samara, and that bums me out. And I really liked Sadako versus Kayako way better than this. That's what I wanted to
talk about too, because you were talking about how lame it seems that you can't spread it. Well, in that one, when we watched it, I like the aspect of that people thought that copying and giving it to somebody else would stop their death, but it didn't. It's like a trick. Like, oh, that
Johnny Galecki.
Take that comment away. Like, he finally figured it out.
That's the guy's name.
But no, like, so I liked that version of it, and there was a few touch points that made me think of the other movie, but yeah, like the viral part of it, where they're like online, because they show it in the trailer,
and that came out of nowhere too, like the scare, like the big setup for whatever comes next. It came out of nowhere. The computer stuff came out of like. Why is it suddenly doing all of that? He was
looking up Braille, and we won't tell you why, but he was looking up Braille, and all of a sudden...
The computer starts freaking out.
The computer freaks out and spreads the video virus, I guess.
So I think we're pretty much near the end here.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is, this might be considered a bit of a spoiler, but...
So let's just get into the spoilers.
Yeah, let's just get into the spoilers then. You guys, fair warning, there's going to be a bit of spoilers right now, but the problem is... The movie ends the exact same way as The Ring does, because the whole time you're thinking, oh, Naomi Watts is going to free the soul, pull a supernatural before supernatural, and like, you know, free the body by getting it out of the well and burying it or whatever. And then you find out that only frees Samara. And it's the exact same ending. Like this whole time, that's the Stir of Echoes portion that I was talking about. She's trying to find Samara's remains that has actually been taken and desecrated or just held and walled up, literally like Stir of Echoes. And then at the end, when she like frees Samara then, like, we find out that the mark on our main character's hand, that was the Braille that Marcia was talking about, says rebirth. And so Samara, and that was mildly interesting. So the idea is that this entire time with all the tapes, and all the time Samara's killing people, she's trying to find her perfect host to rebirth herself.
And she found one because the girl was never scared of her.
But that didn't even... I
don't know how that works.
It was so convenient, but it was stupid. And so anyway, it turns out that while the main character thought she was freeing Samara's soul, no, she was actually just freeing Samara to then take over her body, and now... I guess maybe start killing people easier? I don't know. It's not like she had a hard time doing it before.
And now it's like viral because now it's everywhere.
Yeah, because again, what I was saying, the computer thing, the boyfriend's at the computer looking up Braille, and then it suddenly just starts uploading the video that shouldn't even still be on the laptop, but it's going out to all the friends, and it's like, and people are watching it in record time.
It shouldn't be
and
on.
Like emailing back going, this was so cool, when they had like 5 seconds to watch it.
Well, I guess that's how viral works, but the thing is, it wasn't even on a laptop. I think it was on her computer. And
no, it was a laptop.
Was it?
Only laptops exist in this world.
It wouldn't be the same one though, because they ditched that one a long time ago.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't.
But,
there was.
Yeah, there's flawed logic in it, but I want to. Since we are spoiling, I want to give away the reveal of Samara's like. Story, her lineage, we find out who her mother actually was and who her father was, and I actually dug that part of the story.
Although it was telegraphed like a motherfucker.
But I thought there was points that were cool. They found she discovers that the priest in this small town was diddling this woman this girl he kidnapped and put in the basement of the church.
A priest kidnaps a woman, keeps her locked up in the basement of the church.
Has relations with her as she's pinned up. But he said he had visions that he was going to bother a child that was going to change the world.
But he did not know that it was supposed to be for the worse. But that's a problem with the logic, right? Because he says, we should have killed you when she was pregnant, but he's keeping the girl from, well, I guess maybe he thinks that he knows that she's going to just try and go free.
Right, and then get rebirth.
I guess that's true. But again,
but he doesn't explain
here's where Don't Breathe comes in.
Kill her.
So a priest, an ex-priest, the guy in Don't Breathe wasn't an ex-priest, but this Vincent D'Onofrio is the character we're talking about. He's blind in this movie. So he's a blind man that apparently had kept a woman in his basement, got her pregnant, just like in Don't Breathe, except this one, the
He
baby
actually
didn't die.
did
She
a little
became
bit.
Samara.
Right.
And then, now, and then when our main character goes to confront or goes to talk to him about it and finds out when he reveals that he's actually the guy, then it becomes blind man trying to find a girl and whack her with his cane, just like Don't Breathe. And I'm like, I know they filmed the movie before Don't Breathe had come out, but that is extremely unfortunate for them.
Yeah. And plus, like, it was so convenient because, okay, I'm sorry, if I found this, like, bunker basement by myself because I decided to go by myself without my boyfriend, whatever, that wouldn't happen, in this church, have these visions, which I thought the visions were actually kind of cool in the basement, I liked them, and then what am I going to do? I'm going to go to the weirdo blind guy that's watching over the cemetery to tell him my findings at, like, midnight. Like, it's late. And she's just knocking on his door. And just,
And it doesn't tip her off that the first thing he says is, your boyfriend's not with you. Come in. It's
right.
Like, what?
Why do you know that, blind man? It's just like, where's the logic? They're just trying to push it forward. And
it was just brutal. I think, you know what?
The whole time I was like, when is this movie going to end?
Yeah.
Because
it was unfortunate. Again, I definitely see why they waited to put, they gave an embargo on the reviews because, geez, this is not going to do well, you guys. Hollywood needs to learn that sequelizing these older movies just doesn't do it. Underworld, Resident Evil, now Rings, the slashers you can get away with because there's diehard slasher fans, but when you water down the slashers you've created, i.e. Samara, then what's the point?
Yeah,
what's the point?
Why am I watching a horror movie about this horror icon, and then you don't even get that
The Ring was excellent because it was a PG-13 horror movie. I think it was PG-13 because there was no gore.
Right.
That was genuinely scary. This is a PG-13 that is genuinely lacking in scares.
And the scares they give you aren't even real scares.
It's terrible.
Come on, man.
Terrible. Anyway, so I think that's going to do it for our review of Rings. Oh,
one last thing. My favorite part was the Snapchat.
The Snapchat? The Snapchat. Yeah, because you can do a Snapchat with Samara.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Yeah, we did that before the movie started. So, anyway. That's going to do it for our review of Rings, you guys. Was it Paramount? Whoever it was, you got to try harder.
Yeah.
You got to try harder. Again, I think the best way to reboot these movies is to take it down, make it smaller.
Or move forward.
Well, they were trying to move forward the mythology, but
I don't think it was.
In a very backwards way.
I feel like this would have worked for Rings 2, and then
I think it would still be a bummer either way.
Well, at least it would have hurried it along a little bit more.
Maybe so. Anyways,
go ahead.
Yeah, so let us know in the comments below if you guys are still going to see this or if you're going to take our words at heart, because trust us, we're saving you some money right now. Just wait and watch it when it comes out on VOD or on Netflix. You'll be happier that way, trust me. So thanks very much for watching. I've been Cecil Laird.
I'm Marsh Parker.
And remember, stay scared.